Now we appreciate you. If you're watching in the morning or listening in the morning, we love you just as much. We are going to talk a little bit about Week 12. Patriots and the Packers both had dominant wins. The Buccaneers as well, and a really good game with the Colts. We'll wrap that up, and then we will get to Week 13. We'll guess the lines and pick our favorite bets of those. Let's rock. I'm not going to let you get away with telling me that the biggest winner this week was your Chiefs, because they didn't play this week. And so we're going to take the opportunity to try and not spend the entire podcast talking about them. So I want to start off with this. Patriots win 36-13 in a game that we talked about the Titans being a value at +7, +7.5. And they were really in that game for a little while, and fumbles kind of let it get out of hand. And then the Packers got out to a really big lead against the Rams and held on. Both massive wins. Which one was more impressive for you?
I think the way that New England continues to handle business is impressive. I think Mac Jones has looked good. I don't think it's like he's not throwing 70-yard bullets or whatever, but like he's putting the ball in people's hands. They haven't had their bye yet, right? So I also think like ascending this way without having had a break this year is extremely impressive. So I'm going to go with them.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's super valid. And I'm not going to I don't want to take anything away from the Patriots in saying this, because they've been fantastic. And they've been playing – they're a really complete team. Like there's no area of that where you look at them and you go, oh, they're not performing well in this respect. They've made up for, wide receivers who, look, you're not going to start on a lot of really good teams. Like Kendrick Bourne shows up today and plays really well. Jacoby Myers continues to play really well. But here's what impressed me most. It was the Packers. When we talked about this on Wednesday, you look at the lineups of the two teams, right? You see the Rams and their defense, they're all in. They've got Aaron Donald, they've got Von Miller, they've got Jalen Ramsey. And the Packers are playing backup offensive line the whole way through. In fact, they have Josh Neiman out there playing tackle. And the fact that they were able to put up 36 points.
More of a Josh Hermsmeyer guy myself.
The fact that they were able to put up that many points, I mean, the offensive line really in the first half played very, very well. In the second half, Donald and Miller started to get there a little bit. But by that point, it was out of control. And the defense for the Packers, Adrian Amos, has been amazing. Like the guy just continues to make plays day in and day out. They're getting Jair Alexander. The Packers dominated a game with a Rams team coming off a bye, needing to play really well. And they did so without a lot of their best players. That to me was the most impressive one.
I was told, though, that I needed to be impressed with A.J. Dillon. A couple quote tweets. Look, 20 carries, 69 yards, 3.4 yards a carry, 5 catches for 21 yards,
you can't
and a touchdown.
These with responses.
And
this is ridiculous.
So look, again, I didn't put together the draft. In fact, my statistical projections like A.J. Dillon because he's big and fast, okay? He did not make it on our draft board, but I'll tell you this. We salute you, A.J. Dillon. You had 25 touches in an NFL game, and you got 90 yards. We salute you. We salute you. By the way, now this is another reason why I didn't pick the Packers here. Look, I already think the world of the Packers. That's the thing. I think Matt LaFleur's a great coach. I think Aaron Rodgers is terrific, et cetera, et cetera. I think the defense is great. We love them from a numerical standpoint. Like, they had a ton of valuable players. I don't want any more Rams-splaining. Like, I don't care
What did
that
you
the
call it?
Rams-splaining. Like the whole offseason when it's like, oh, look, Les Snead read Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, or oh, they're finding all these edges where this might look really freaking stupid to trade 2 first-round picks in your starting quarterback for Matt Stafford because Matt Stafford's a coach killer, but it's actually really smart. All this bullshit that we had to listen to about why the Rams are doing it different. No, the Rams are doing it stupidly, and so yes, I know the Rams. I know the Rams needed a win in this game. That doesn't mean shit. The Houston Texans needed a win today too, and they couldn't beat the Jets. It doesn't matter.
Sometimes you overextend. That was not overextension. That was really well done.
We were the whole offseason, we were talked down to, and even people who we respect are like, oh, I don't see a problem with just why is acquiring more good players not a good thing? It's like you're being a bad analyst if you don't look at what things cost. And the Rams have thumbed their nose at cost. And some of the costs aren't that big this year, but they're immense. And you're 2 games out of first place in your own division with a -1 in the tiebreaker. And this was your all-in season. We were patronized about how this was supposed to be different. And actually, no, they do really well with their 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks. You're overlooking them. And no, this team stinks. And they go to Lambeau today.
So harsh.
And they play a team.
So harsh.
The Packers, I love, like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Packers. Their team and how they're constructed. Packers gained 5.1 yards per play today. Okay? This isn't Bart Starr and this isn't a good Packers team.
Well, the Packers are a good team.
Yeah.
What needs to be underscored here is that the Packers have a quarterback with 9 toes, okay? Mm-hmm. An offensive line that no one could name any players on, against a team that had all their players. Now,
and this has given them such beer goggles that we're supposed to be impressed with A.J. Dillon touching the ball 25 times for 90 yards.
You're letting 3 people on Twitter dictate this podcast.
True,
so we're not going to let that. We're not letting that happen. What I do think is interesting though is because the narrative is going to be, well, Matt Stafford is hurt, and you made a good point on our Wednesday podcast. It was yeah. And if you weren't expecting Matt Stafford to get hurt, what league have you been watching for the past 10 years?
Did you think that you left his injuries in Detroit? You were going to get this homeopathy that Aaron Rodgers was getting in freaking
homeopathy.
Homeopathy.
Get it right, okay? No, but it's interesting because there is something to be said for a really good team, and I think this needs to be discussed a little bit. Sean McVay has, I would say, in a lot of ways, been an above-average NFL coach. Mm-hmm. But in a lot of ways has made a lot of suboptimal decisions. Clock management, game management.
The end of the game against the Packers was a masterclass in...
It was not good, okay? But there's also, and I want to give LaFleur a lot of credit for this. That team was banged up to shit. And last year in the playoffs, when they were banged up, just without Bakhtiari, was the guy that, everything fell apart.
They lost a 1-score game to Tom Brady.
Fell apart. And the fact that they have Devontae Adams, but no, I mean, they don't have Odell Beckham, they don't have Robert Woods, they don't even have Tyler Higbee, honestly. And they move Devontae Adams around so much. He continues. I mean, he had over 100 yards in that game against a Rams defense that has stars everywhere. Yeah. They should be able to take away one player, right? And they weren't able to. And I thought that was what was so impressive to me, was what LaFleur did with a suboptimal deck of cards, and McVay with a fully loaded stack, wasn't able to.
I mean, Robert Woods is one of the best players in the NFL, in my opinion. And
Troy Aikman called him a top 3 wide receiver.
I think he does so many great things, and I think you're telling on your people were telling on themselves when they were asking how Beckham was going to replace Woods, because Woods plays just a unique spot there, but the very interesting thing, Troy was very what do the kids call it, based today. Troy, during the broadcast.
I'm sorry.
it was just like when somebody's like unintentionally honest. So he was saying, like, he was talking about Raheem Morris and how he took over for Brandon Staley, and he goes, the defense went from first last year to 12th this year, and even though Morris is running the same scheme, and I think he's still doing a good job, and all that's fucking true. All that's true. The Rams defense isn't bad this year. It's exactly what we said. It's like you cannot, when you make moves in an offseason, say, I'm going to fix the number one overall defense. That's a down payment on the season. No. And it doesn't have to be going from 1 to 32. If it goes from 1 to 12, is Stafford making up that slack? And anybody who watched Thanksgiving football knows golf's horrendous. But you put Stafford in that spot. Is he making up that difference? No. Evidently no. And this team, again, we could be just overreacting to a few games, but this is the Rams. Whenever they've placed a team that is any good, they just can't win. And
they're undefeated against teams under 500.
And they get the Jags next week, so they'll be. We'll be back to more Rams-splaining next week. But
but they are, I believe, 1-4 now against teams that are above 500, and they have the sixth. They have the entering this week sixth hardest remaining schedule, and that includes a Jaguars game. By the way, I want to apologize to the math. Okay, our math thought the Packers was a smart bet. You can get, by the way, what our math tells you to do at PFF.com, and you can get it for 40% off with Cyber40 as a promo code. Get 40% off an elite subscription, and you can see all of the predictions. And you don't have to listen to my dumbass when I go, look, the offensive line is beat to shit. Aaron Donald's going to eat the other 9 toes that, Rex Ryan told him to, that Aaron Rodgers happens to have, and they're going to get killed. You don't have to listen to me there. You can get your own mathematical opinion at PFF.com with Cyber40 that includes all of the great betting content, all of the great locked article content, fantasy rankings, projections, and PFF 0 to 100 grades. Go to PFF.com, use promo code Cyber40, do it, and do it now.
And there was an issue last week, so we took Minnesota +3.
Yes, let's talk about Minnesota and the Niners.
And then when we did the forecast on Wednesday, you were offered the exact same price on San Francisco. We said buy off of that if you took it originally. It then got out to 3.5. So what ultimately was a smart move for you to buy off.
And it helped us identify the lock of the week.
The lock of the week,
which was
Niners, Vikings over, which was really no in doubt.
When did it hit?
Middle of the third quarter.
Yeah, and so I text, you weren't in the office. So the total we got was 48 and a half, forget which one exactly. So it's the Niners have 28, Vikings have 14, Vikings score, go to 20, so it totals at 48. And I text you, I'm like, look at that. And you were like, don't mush it. And of course, the Vikings missed the PAT. And I was like, if no one scores in the last 20 minutes of the game, I'm not going to be well. I probably wouldn't have made the podcast, but they did. That was wonderful.
We got a kick return. I mean, ultimately, it was hanging there for a while. If the Niners don't score at the end of the first half,
right?
I'm a little nervous.
But don't doubt Kyle Shanahan.
No, don't doubt Kyle Shanahan.
Don't you doubt Kyle Shanahan.
Also, don't doubt this. And the people want to talk to me about the Vikings DVOA on defense. The Vikings defense is horrible. And when they don't have their defensive line, obviously they're worse.
I think this is a legit question now. You look at the NFC West. I mean, the Cardinals are at the top there. They're coming back with Kyler Murray, healthy presumably. And the Niners, who, waxed the ground. They just destroyed the Rams. The Rams are in danger of being the third best team in that division. That's a legit outcome.
Look at the schedule here for your Niners. They go to Seattle. Seattle still, they play tonight.
Yep.
Who knows what you're going to get there. They come here to the Bengals.
Yep. Potentially.
Are you gonna brave the elements with me?
I'm not going to that game. I will enjoy watching it on TV so much more than I will going to that stadium.
And then and then they get the Falcons at home, which I know the Falcons beat them there the Super Bowl year. Remember that game?
Of course.
But Falcons. Although the Falcons are tied with the Vikings for the 7th seed right now.
Can I just remember what the Falcons?
Yeah.
I said on Wednesday, I'm betting on the Falcons this week. If they can't be the Jags, I'm never betting on them again. The Falcons could have put me out of my misery. They could have just
wanted
lost,
to too.
and they could have just lost and said, you know what? You never have to bet on us again. But those motherfuckers have me coming back.
They did it. And then they go to Tennessee. I think by then they might have A.J. Brown back, but it's still – I mean, the Titans somehow managed to lose by multiple scores today while having 2 100-yard rushers. That was something. Then they get Texans at home, right? Then they go to Rams for Week 18, the final week of the regular season. I mean, it's a lot better of a road for the Niners than it. And I think right now. So I actually, our colleague Ben Brown writes an article for VSiN, and I sort of helped him this week because he had some family stuff. And the bet I liked for the week was Niners plus 100 to make the playoffs was what I wrote up. And I said, look, if they beat the Vikings, they're something like minus 200 now to make the playoffs. Like, I think minus 200 is probably a fair price for them to make the playoffs after they have that win. They have a leg up on all these other kind of dog shit teams beneath them. And the only team among the teams that are kind of below them in the playoff race for the NFC, the only team that's any good, kind of maybe, is the Vikings, who they just beat today. Right? They'll have the tiebreaker with. So I think the Niners are playing in January.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah,
and it's kind of scary. I would like them to get to
Rams, Samuel got injured today. That's big. Them putting Ayuk in there. I thought Juwan Jennings looked good. You know, they're obviously Jimmy G's an issue, right? But you know, I thought he was okay today.
I mean, he played well enough to beat Kirk Cousins, who's been playing really darn well.
Yeah. Kirk seemed to like dither after that interception.
By the way, if you want to bet playoff futures, go to pff.com and you can use our futures tool, one of our betting tools, to look at, depending on what price you have, what our simulation would put the fair price at and whether or not you should bet it at your book. Player props also there. I'm just saying, like, make your holiday a little warmer and go to pff.com/cyber40. Okay, here's what I wanted to do, actually. We haven't power ranked teams in a little while. Want to do a little top 5 before we get into week 13?
Sure.
Okay. And maybe you can go past top 5. Maybe we go all the way to we get to the Rams.
Our friend Peter King was trying to do this on his show, and it was you know, obviously we love Peter. I think his top is a little bit different than mine, but
what was his?
He wanted to put Green Bay first, and then I think it was Green Bay, Arizona were his top 2, and then after that it was New England.
Okay. Yeah, I think yours will be different.
Yeah. Okay, so what are your top 5?
Okay, I will go first. The best team in the NFL. Now, let's be clear. When do you want to do this as like right now, this moment, or what we think they will be like end rest of year? Because I think that's different, right?
Yeah.
If you go at this very moment, heading into next week, I do think it's a little bit different than, okay, let me think about the totality of next year or the rest of the year.
Yeah, because so I think in most cases, so if injuries aren't a thing, I think they're the same. Like, I don't think that the market prices in momentum.
No, but I am injuries is
but
exactly
injuries
what I'm talking
injuries
about,
are
right?
what you're talking about, which I think is fair. So let's do just going into next week.
Okay.
Because I do think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, because the Bucs, to me, with their players healthy, are still number 1. But with the way they're injured on the offensive line, at wide receiver, and in the defensive backfield, they are not. So just going into next week, I am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, number 1.
How much did it hurt to say that?
It hurt a little bit, although I don't think it's that much of a. I guess it is kind of a debate. I mean, the Packers played really, really well, but again, we're going into next week, and you know the Packers are going to have a bye. But if you assumed not, they would be a little banged up. So and they beat a Rams team that has not looked good recently. So I'll go Chiefs 1. I will go.
It's tricky, isn't it?
I will go. Man, I think I will go Arizona 2. Green Bay 3. Tampa Bay 4. New England 5.
Okay. All right. You want to know something really
That
interesting?
was hard, though.
And
I thought about New England, too.
I'm not trying to cheat here, but there are 9 teams that are 12-1 or better on DraftKings. There is no one between 12-1 and 27-1. There's a humongous gap there. I'll go it this way. I think I'm trying to be. Here's how I'll go: Arizona, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Green Bay, New England.
Wait, hold on. What?
Yeah.
Say that to me again.
Arizona, to me, is the most impressive team in the NFL.
Okay.
And then, okay, if I go Arizona, and then I said
You were putting Buffalo.
Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Green Bay, New England.
Wow.
I think if I have more faith right now, if Buffalo and Kansas City played on a neutral field, I think it would be either a pick 'em or Buffalo would be slightly favored. I think
No.
Okay.
No. Kansas City would be favored.
Tampa's weird, right? Because Tampa's getting healthier in the secondary, but their best player, Carlton Davis, is not back.
Jamel Dean got hurt today.
Jamel Dean got hurt today. Okay, so I didn't see that. And then Antonio Brown's their best wide receiver, and he's hurt.
Yep.
Mike Evans did not look.
Ali Marpet.
Ali Marpet. Look, I think Arizona last season, if they would have had to play 10 snaps without DeAndre Hopkins, they would have melted down.
Mm-hmm.
And they've played weeks without him and the quarterback and have won games on the road and won games by multiple scores. How much more impressive does that win look over San Francisco? That now that San Francisco's, rebounded. I think Vance Joseph deserves a ton of credit. That defense was horrendous when he took over, and now it's a defense you can win with. I think Cliff deserves a great deal of credit, and I think the fact that they were able to sit Murray down as opposed to playing him through it was very good. So I think Arizona fundamentally deserves our respect. It doesn't.
I agree. I put them too.
Yeah, and that's why I have.
They're not favored over.
But I think so. My issue with Kansas City is, and it's something I think we try to preach on this show, is don't coach your bet. Like, if Kansas City did what they did against the Raiders, which was 22 snaps under center, I think it was like half as many RPOs as normal. Patrick Mahomes had the most passes to running backs after the first read all season, all that kind of stuff. If they do that, they find their James White, they do all that, then the Chiefs should be favored to win the Super Bowl. The problem is you saw that against the Raiders. And then against Dallas, they reverted back to all the bullshit, RPO, all that stuff. And I'm just like, is Andy Reid, like, come and look, a late buy and all that stuff is great. Like, I'm bullish on them. I think their defense looks great. But can I trust that offense to – they're scoring 19 points, man. Like, against the Raiders. Against Dallas. Like, I need to see it a little bit more. Whereas I think Buffalo has some – I can trust Buffalo to sort of get it on the green more, in my opinion.
Okay.
A team that lost to the Jaguars, granted.
Yeah. The point here in that is that there's not a lot of consensus.
No.
All right, let's get into
By the way, if you want to look at DraftKings has Tampa Bay 5-1, Kansas City 7-1, Buffalo plus 750, Arizona 8-1, Packers 8-1, New England 10-1, Dallas 10-1, and the Los Angeles Rams 12-1, and the Baltimore Ravens 12-1. So those are the teams
to win the Super Bowl.
So those are the teams, the aforementioned 12-1 or better. And then after that, it's the Titans, Chargers, Bengals at 28-1.
I think the only team I would actually place a bet on right now is the Ravens 12-1.
It's too short for me. I honestly, to me, like,
if I had to bet on one of those teams,
to me, this sounds stupid, but the Titans.
Yeah, because they'll get healthy.
Late bye, they'll get healthy. They have an easy as hell schedule. They have a 2-game lead plus a tiebreaker in the AFC South.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to Week 13, guess the lines. I want to remind you that Fantrax our friends at Fantrax, the best fantasy football league manager, the most customizable, easy to use, feature-rich platform out there in the industry. It's where we play our fantasy leagues. You should as well. You can customize it up anything that you can dream of. You can do there. The UI, UX is awesome, and you can play hockey and fantasy basketball there too. And if you sign up at fantrax.com/PFF, you will be eligible to get one of the signed jerseys that they are giving away to a few lucky fans. So go make that happen and make your fantasy experience that much more enjoyable. Also, DraftKings, if you're going to bet on these games, that's where you should do it. They continue to give you fantastic deals for you to sign up and get a bunch of free bets. Use promo code PFF when you sign up at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Use promo code PFF, and new customers who bet just $1 on any team to score will get $100 in free bets. I recommend you go put those on some props. Why? Because they're going to fucking win. And they also give you, DraftKings does, all new customers an opportunity to win $1 million for free, which is pretty cool as well. So go to DraftKings.com, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, download it, use promo code PFF, bet $1 on any team to score, and get $100 in free bets if that team scores. It's very easy. You must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers are the ones that are eligible. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We are into week 13.
Actually, I bet some of these look-aheads.
Oh, good.
But it was like last week, so
Okay.
it has not sullied the game
Good.
that we're playing here.
Good. I have a feeling that I'm off by a lot on a lot of these. We start with Thursday Night Football. The Cowboys go to New Orleans to play the Saints. I have the Saints as a 5.5-point underdog. How about you?
I have Dallas minus 6.5.
Okay. On Pinnacle, it looks like you're a little more right. It is -6.
Trending.
Juiced towards 6.5. And I think that's right. My take on, 5.5, I guess you're expecting CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper to be back. That's probably a pretty big deal. But Saints at home, they were very banged up in that game on Thanksgiving, and they were embarrassed. And a team that is coming off an embarrassment, that's well coached, that has that many good players, I don't know. I just, the Cowboys defense is not very good. And so I'm not trying to talk myself into the Saints, but
I can't, man. Rob Pizzola actually told when we were on his podcast, he was like, look, the intuition he had was the first couple weeks with a backup are better than
sure.
And I think Simeon hasn't looked that bad. I mean, he's not been good, but he's looked like competent. I mean, what's the difference between him and Jerkoff at this point?
Yeah, it's
and my point is the Saints are just so banged up. They don't have good receivers. It's what the Saints are on offense. They're basically Detroit, right?
Oh, stop.
With a good play caller,
That's
right?
cool.
A very good play caller. But talent-wise, they're like Detroit, aren't they? Good offensive linemen, no receivers. You know what I mean? And they're fine defensively. My take on Dallas, by the way, is I think that they get a break here, right? I think win this game, you get the 10 days off, mini bye. I think Dallas will compete, right? I think they've had a couple bad games in a row. But I'm going to go I'm going to lay off this game. I don't really want anything to do with the New Orleans Saints, and I think that's the only thing you can bet here with Dallas on the road.
1 p.m. slate on Sunday. Giants go to Miami to play the Dolphins, who destroyed the Carolina Panthers, who somehow were favored with Cam Newton on the road. What do you have here?
Miami minus 2.5.
Okay. I have Miami -3.
The Giants is 2.5, although it is trending 3, minus 120 on Pinnacle.
120.
Yeah, so it's basically 3. The Giants kind of showed, it's not like Freddie Kitchen said much, but they did show that Patrick Graham's, not terrible back there, right?
So here's when I knew the Giants were going to cover that game. First off, the Eagles were a very popular pick this week,
Yeah.
but Fox ran a promo that was like this public service announcement, that you see where it's like, hey, alerting everyone watching this channel, and it was that the Eagles were back. And I was like, oh. Have you learned? I mean, like, have you learned nothing?
Was this not? I mean, Jalen Hurts today.
It was not.
14 of 31, 129, 3 picks.
In fairness to him, he did not get a lot of help.
No, Jalen Reagor dropped 2 game-winning touchdown passes basically down the, or one game-winning touchdown pass on the 4th down. Reagor's 2 catches on 7 targets for 31 yards.
Really well done.
Yeah, I think I actually like Tua's played well. I think relative to public perception. Total on this game's 42. Could want Giants in a teaser. Don't really like the Giants kind of 2 weeks in a row though. I mean, I think this will stay close. Anyway,
let's go to Colts Texans in Houston.
Love that.
Let me tell you how I picked the spread. I started at Colts minus 14.
I don't think you're going to get there.
And I got myself all the way down to Colts minus 9.
I have Colts minus 10.
Okay.
And I this is one I did bet, and this is interesting because I will still bet it. Colts are laying 7.5 at Houston. If there's a team that's going to excuse my French, fuck the Houston Texans shit up, it's the Indianapolis Colts. They're everything that Houston.
Bet this immediately. So I don't know. We actually never decided what the winner of the bet will be.
Oh yeah,
for our which is befitting of the fact that we bet on the Jets and the Texans.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, right. I finally won one.
Okay. Yeah, you finally won. You're off the shot, and it's in a bet that we didn't have a weight. An actual bet on.
Now I realize how kind of cranky you were because I was just because
yes, you made the claim that Zach Wilson played quote fine. We're not even going to dignify that with conversation.
So you tried to mush the over, and then it didn't, and then the Niners got the field goal to make it 51. And then I go, oh yeah, and the Jets, because I had actually a teaser with Jets plus 8.5, and then Chargers plus 8.5, which I should have just money line parlay them. They both won outright, and I was like, yeah, the Jets,
Broncos, but yeah,
the Broncos, sorry. And I was like, oh, the Jets teaser was my lock of the week in spirit or something, and you're like. Yeah, the fact that they won with Wilson playing that horrendously is just, and I'm like, and I didn't realize that like we had made that bet, so I didn't realize why you were so cranky. Now I get it, like, cause yeah, I mean Wilson's not good right now.
No,
like, did you see my tweet?
No, I didn't read. I don't just sit on Twitter reading all your tweets.
I tweeted out a blank white screen, and I said, "What Zach Wilson learned when injured." So like I was following along.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
But dude, okay.
We've done enough Jets talk. The Texans also suck.
Yes, and Tyrod Taylor is overrated on the betting markets.
I will let you talk about the Rams, but we have to cut. We can't spend this much time on Tyrod Taylor. But I agree with you in this respect.
Yeah, like Colts. If Davis Mills is the quarterback, what's the spread?
14.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Tyrod's not 7 points better than any other quarterback in the league. So
no, he was coming through the back door. He had covered. That's why. Vikings.
So
go to
Colts
Detroit.
minus 7.5.
The Vikings go to Detroit. To
also Colts minus 1.5 on a teaser. Just all of the Colts. This is another one.
What did you have the Vikings?
I had Vikings minus 8.
I had minus 8.5.
It is minus 7.
True. Trending
towards Detroit.
6.5.
Look, as somebody who grew up in Minnesota, I've seen an 0-12 Lions team with Mike McMahon at quarterback beat the Vikings.
Do you think this gets to 6.5?
I think the moment that it gets beneath 7, everybody and their grandma is pounding the Vikings. I could be wrong here. I think this is another teaser, if anything. But I think Vikings minus 7 is the right bet. Like, I mean, if look, Kirk Cousins in his career with the Vikings is like 5 games under 500 if you don't count the Detroit wins. Like he's undefeated against Detroit.
This is also an opportunity. The Vikings just lost Alvin Cook. Alexander Madison will fill in just fine. But
do you think that's one of the reasons?
No. I just
gracious.
think that this is a little bit of respect for the Lions. I don't know why.
Well, as everybody said on the broadcast,
They got more rest. I don't know.
maybe. Look, the Minnesotan in me does think Detroit picks up their first win against the Vikings, just like superstitiously.
Par for the course. Eagles Jets in New York. I have the Eagles as a 6.5 point favorite.
Wow, that's a lot of respect. But it is. I also have 6.5.
It is 7. Which I think is a little bit much, but you again will not. You have not won me over. Zach Wilson's 49 PFF grade did not win me over.
Okay.
His 4.8 ADOT, the 5 sacks that he took, the fact that he went like 12 for 25 did not win me over.
That's the face of somebody who bet on the Houston Texans.
They were up 14 to fucking
They were. And you know what? You know who had a heart of a champion today? Zach Wilson. Also, Robert Salah. Your fellow.
Robert Salah deserves that
Yes,
win.
thank you.
It was no thanks to anyone else. The defense played really well, and against that game was so bad. Cardinals Bears. I believe this is Andy Dalton. Yes.
That doesn't matter. Like, it sounds bad, but does it matter right now?
No. I struggled with this one because the Cardinals are coming off a bye, but you also don't know like the extent to which Kyler Murray is going to be back to his Kyler Murray self. But I have Cardinals by 7.
I said stay away, but I also said Arizona -7.
And it is 7 juiced though, so could be 7.5 soon.
Yeah. I have not. I did not bet this look ahead.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, and I do think it moves to 7.5. The interesting thing, though, the Cardinals are not getting the full benefit of the bye, I guess, because the Bears played on Thanksgiving. But
yeah, it's also a revenge game because the the Arizona Cardinals used to be the Chicago Cardinals. So
that's definitely going to carry over.
So I mean, it's. This game kind of sucks, right? Like the Bears are gonna do a lot of crappy things. The only way that this game's interesting is if Arizona lays an egg, and that would suck.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect the weather to be awful in this game,
which could be an issue for Murray.
Chicago weather. Yeah, I mean, actually, it's not going to be as cold as I thought.
It's not. I mean. Early
40s, but there might be some rain on Sunday.
The thing the Cardinals have done really well this year is
14 mile per hour winds, 43 degrees. So, yeah, do what you want with that. Okay. Chargers, Bengals. A good game that probably should have been on Sunday Night Football.
But they're lucking out that it didn't, right? Because now the Chiefs, Broncos, like whoever wins that game's in first place.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no. It was great for the networks. Yeah. I mean, look, Broncos Chiefs, even if the Broncos lost today, was going to get a higher rating. That's just the way that the world works. What'd you have this at?
I had this as a pick'em.
Okay. Yeah, I think you could. Certainly. I have Bengals -2.5.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see why, because everybody used to hate us for having the Chargers basically power ranked as a average team on a neutral. But you're seeing this is Brandon Staley, it seems sharp in some ways, but this team is like a classic less than the sum of the parts.
Their offense is just not exciting.
And it's not because Herbert's bad. I think Herbert's a good player. And obviously Allen, Mike Williams, Eckler, all great. The offensive line seems fine, but man, it does not add up. Mm-hmm. It's Bengals -3 basically, -2.5 juiced. I don't know. I think this is a game where total on the game's 51. If you want to go over, it's actually plus money on Pinnacle. both of these defenses kind of suck. I mean, you might be even getting a value on the Bengals defense because if you want to bet overs, because they shut down a pretty crappy Pittsburgh team. Let's be honest, the wheels are off that train.
Yeah.
The Chargers, though, man, they're so maddening. I have to stay.
I'll say this: I think that the play at 3 is Chargers.
Yeah, I think so.
These teams to me are a little bit of like finger pointing Spider-Man meme. Buccaneers Falcons in Atlanta. I have the Buccaneers favored by 7.5. Oh wow, I'm short.
I have the Bucs by 7.5 too.
It's 10.
Yeah, no though, right? Like, remember when the Falcons went to Tampa in week 2, fresh off of getting drilled by the Eagles, and they even took a lead in the third quarter, and then it was like Mike Edwards had the pick sixes or whatever. I mean, they should be a value at 10 at home. Are you touching that with a 40-foot pole?
Damn it. See, if they could have just lost today, this would have been so much easier. I wouldn't have to consider this. But the Buccaneers are banged up, and they're banged up on the interior. Ali Marpet, if Ali Marpet can't go, Grady Jarrett's a monster. A.J. Terrell has played incredibly well.
The Falcons defense has given, I know the opponents, but the Falcons defense has given up 2 touchdowns the last 2 games on defense.
Now the Falcons offense,
that's the thing. They can't score with Tampa. Like,
I know.
Even if Patterson's in there, like, there's no Ridley. Ridley was the player in the last game that kind of kept them in it. Pitts is kind of like, you know that Bowles is going to have Pitts locked down.
Man. Okay. 4 p.m. slate starts with a doozy. There aren't a ton of good games this week. Jaguars-Rams in Los Angeles. I have the Rams favored by 14.
Okay, so Rams, where are we at? LA. Oh, I have LA minus 10.5.
Okay. Your Rams-splaining coming in handy here. The Rams are 13, but juiced. Probably going to get to 13.5.
This reminds me of when they lost to the Jets last year.
Of course it does. Why am I surprised? Would you
if it got to 14, I'd have to buy it, I think, right?
Here's a question. Would you rest Matt Stafford in this game?
Oh.
I think they should.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
If he's really that banged up, and I mean, here's the thing. You're not you're in a position where you're going to have to go on the road in all likelihood to get to the Super Bowl because, you're so far behind the Cardinals right now. So if you're going to do that, you better have a somewhat healthy Matthew Stafford.
Well, and obviously with the what the Arizona Cardinals did. I don't know. Like, to me, the hard part is I don't know what kind of rest is going to help the guy.
Yeah, I don't know if rest will actually help it or not.
He also literally played Week 17 last year with broken ribs and all that kind of stuff against the Vikings when they were 5-10.
I think he's going to play. I'm just saying I would. Yeah. This isn't the Lions anymore.
It just doesn't seem like he's willing to preserve himself.
Washington comes to Vegas to play the Raiders. Washington obviously plays tonight against the Seahawks.
Big win total bet.
Yes.
Implications.
What did you have this one at?
Vegas minus 2.5.
Okay, I had Vegas minus 3.5, and you're right. It's 2.5.
Yeah, I kind of like the Raiders, but it does seem like Heineke is what would you do with Heineke if you were the Washington football team?
What?
So now that they've won 4 games, and I guess the answer is exactly what they did this year with them, which is bring in another person, whether that be a draft pick or something, and have Heineke be a good backup.
Yes, that's the answer.
Okay. Like 7.3 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. You can do a lot worse than that.
Yeah, you can. I do kind of think the Raiders are a value at -2.5. Football team
Banged up.
gonna be short rest. Raiders on long rest.
I don't mind that either.
Now that's obviously baked into the number, but like,
yeah.
Anyways, Ravens Steelers in Pittsburgh. This one is tricky. I have the Ravens favored by 3.
2.5 for me. The same side.
I don't see this up yet.
Yeah, Ravens just played.
Let me see what. So, what do you make of the Ravens' performance?
I think if they played a real quarterback tonight, they lose.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Like I said this on the show today, and I was wrong. I said I liked Cleveland plus 3.5. I thought that players 2 through 53 for the Browns were much better than players 2 through 53 for the Ravens, healthy.
Right.
But the Ravens still like find a way. Remember in the offseason when they decided to sign Tyus Bowser, 4 years, $24 million, and then they drafted Odafe Oweh. They got Justin Houston for $4 million a year. They got Pernell McPhee, and they let Yannick Ngakoue and Matthew Judon go.
Yep.
And like Tyus Bowser's a freaking hell of a player. Like they know, right? They just figured this thing out, and like it doesn't add up for the Ravens how they're the 1 seed in the AFC right now. But I think a lot of that's attributable to they're great on special teams, and their coach is a top 2 coach, right? Top 3 coach. And Lamar played horrendously tonight, and they overcame it. And I think a lot of that's playing another team that's not very good. But I think a lot of that is just like it never gets off the rails with the Ravens. Never.
Yeah, and to be very clear, the Browns' defensive strategy against the Ravens was awesome.
Yeah. Players 2 through 53 were great on the Browns.
Pre-Sunday Night Football, this was 3.
Yeah. The problem is, though, man, if they reopen this at 3, I'm hammering Baltimore. The Pittsburgh Steelers are
not great.
Awful.
Lowest graded quarterback in the NFL is
Big
not
Ben.
any of the shitty ass rookies that can't put their fucking clothes on right. It is Big Ben Roethlisberger, unfortunately for him. No gloating by me. I'll just let that one hang out there. Enjoy it. 49ers go to play the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. What'd you make this?
49ers Seahawks. I took San Francisco -2.5.
Likewise. And that is what it is. And I think it could get out to 3. It is -112 on Pinnacle.
I'll say this. This is a speculative thing. Seattle tonight beat Washington, let's say. You're 4-7. You look at Seattle's coming schedule, right? It's not that bad, right? Like you look at Seattle, so they go to Washington tonight, right? And then they have 49ers at home.
Correct.
Texans, reeling Rams team, Bears, Lions.
Yep.
At Cardinals. Cardinals could be resting people. A win tonight puts Seattle at 4-7. 1 game behind Minnesota,
Yep.
New Orleans, and Atlanta. Atlanta -103 point differential at 5-6. I think Seattle.
So what is this line if Seattle wins?
I still think it's 2.5, but I think it's sitting there begging you to bet Seattle or bet San Francisco. So like I don't know. Like I at some point Russell's going to get better, isn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
what you would think.
You would think that. And he did get better. His grade was substantially better in game 2 off of the injury. The results weren't great. But like, you know what I mean? You know, I think Seattle still is live for the playoffs in the NFC. And I could look like a fool tonight when they lose 21-3 to the football team or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I don't think this will go away. I agree with you. The reason I asked was like, do you think my take would be that if Seattle plays well, this will go out to Seattle as a small favorite to tease or protect it. Because if Russell Wilson is somewhat healthy, then a Seattle Seahawks teaser leg out to 8.5 at home is what you want.
Yeah.
But if he's bad, then you're like, oh, the Niners could just run all over him. But potentially no Deebo Samuel.
So I'm saying, like,
I like this as a teaser.
I don't think San Francisco. I think San Francisco makes the playoffs in the NFC, even with the injuries that they have, and even with the inconsistency of the quarterback.
Yeah.
I do think though, you could end up with Seattle. You could end up with 4 playoff teams from the NFC West in the playoffs. Like, it could be a thing.
Wouldn't be a complete shock. Before we get to the last two, whether it's football success or financial savvy, the right questions help set the stage for winning strategies. Western and Southern is teaming up. Our good friends at Western and Southern are teaming up with our very own Chris Collinsworth to share insights that can help put you ahead on both your fantasy and financial scoreboards. Some may say they told you to buy crypto like 5 years ago. I don't know. I'm just saying. That was an Ask Chris segment from before I was here at PFF. But you can now ask Chris about his old playing days. There's a chance, by the way, San Francisco, Cincinnati is flexed in 2 weeks, which means poor Chris Collinsworth has to relive the San Francisco Cincinnati Super Bowl that did not go his way. But you can ask him. I would not ask him about that, but you can ask him a bunch of other questions. Or you can ask a question about financial future, how to plan for it, how to succeed in it. And when you do enter your question at westernsouthern.com/askchris, you will be entered for a chance to win a completely catered party for February's big game. So go to westernsouthern.com/askchris and enter your question and see if it is read on the Chris Collinsworth podcast or the Western and Southern Instagram, where he will answer the best question each week. Remember, that's Western and Southern. All right. Sunday Night Football, Broncos, Chiefs. What do you have this?
Oh, man.
Kansas City.
Kansas City -10.
I don't disagree with you. I have it 8.5.
Yeah, so I bet this because when I took the power rankings and stuff, I worked it out. You have home field advantage, you have rest differential, you have all that. But I did shade it a little bit. It is 10.
It's 10 juiced. Look, I'm not going to back the Broncos because it pains me. But
Teddy's also kind of banged up. You saw him kind of waddling out there today.
Yeah. Your point about the Chiefs, I think, is super valid. I don't know that they are a runaway team, a runaway and hide team yet.
The Chiefs are a team that I will bet, so against Dallas and against Vegas when they were 2.5-point favorites, I will take them -2.5.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll take them -6.5. I'll take them -8.5. I'll buy them successively. But if I have to start at -110 at -10 or whatever, and it's actually not that, it's more like 9.5 now. If I have to do that, no deal. They are just. The Broncos actually have some ingredients to make the Chiefs defense struggle, which is athletic tight end. The receivers I don't have an issue with because the Chiefs are really good at stopping receivers. The running game,
By the way, the Broncos receivers are good.
Yes, but the Chiefs funnel things to the tight end. And I think that's why they're pretty good on defense. Other than the first couple weeks of the season, is that they funnel things to the tight end, they tackle. And in the first part of the season, they weren't tackling, they weren't getting any pressure, all that kind of stuff. But I think even in the Chiefs' ideal defensive state, they're going to struggle against a team like Denver. And on offense, Denver's defense is freaking good.
Denver's defense is really freaking good.
And they're deep in the secondary.
Justin Simmons is that guy that you want if you're trying to stop Travis Kelce. So, look, I think this is going to be
There are good players that don't get snaps in the Denver secondary. They're good,
yep.
and they got Chubb back and all that kind of stuff. They're a good team. I like that Denver won this week because I think it makes this game interesting. And ultimately, I think it's interesting from a futures perspective, but it's not interesting necessarily from a point spread perspective.
All right, this is the one. This is the best game of the week. Patriots in Buffalo to face Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Bills obviously played on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night.
Yeah.
Destroyed the New Orleans Saints, and the Patriots destroyed the Tennessee Titans. So, what did you make this?
I made it 2.5, Buffalo.
I think that's the number. Not surprised that we aligned there.
I actually bet this because prior to Thanksgiving it was 3.5, and so I took New England plus the points. And now it's about 3, trending 3.5. You can get a 3.5 if you want it. I like New England's defense is the real deal. New England's defense is going to make Buffalo be so. We talked about this on the show, but like the Bills and the Chiefs suffer from some of the same things, which is you have a really talented quarterback who in his nature wants to be aggressive.
Yeah.
And you have a league full of defenses that are making you be patient. And what happened on Thursday night against the Saints? Well, the Saints aren't that kind of defense. The Saints are a lineup, rush the passer, blitz, cover, man covered on the back end. Well, the Bills and Chiefs can beat those teams pretty easily by big plays and stuff. I think New England's going to make Buffalo kind of chop it up all the way down the field. And I just don't think the Bills can reliably do that to the tune of -3.5.
If it's -3.5, the Patriots might be one of my favorite bets. And I think one of the reasons for that is that Tre'Davious White is out for the Bills. And secondary is a weak link system, and the Patriots will take advantage of any weak links that are there. Mac Jones is playing so well. The offensive line is playing incredibly well. The defense is obviously fantastic. And I'm not sure. I think this is giving Josh Allen a lot of respect. Not that he doesn't deserve a ton of respect. He's been really good the last 2 years. But the consistency hasn't necessarily been there. And so at 3.5, it's -3, -115. So this is probably going to be 3.5.
Yeah, it'll probably stay there. I mean, and it should be thought of as a good bet. Belichick Belichick as a dog is pretty good, man. I mean, as much as we could sit here and say, well, Mac Jones, most of his throws are underneath and most of it's yards after the catch and all that kind of stuff. Buffalo, I think, on the defensive line has a lot of depth, but I don't think that they're super strong in any one spot. I think that's by design. So that's, Patriots will probably match up okay there. I think the running backs against Buffalo's linebackers is a mismatch for New England. And at receiver, if White was there, it'd be hard. But I don't think are you tilted at all by how good Kendrick Bourne is? Former Niner, Kendrick Bourne's a good freaking player. It's weird.
He is.
And Jacoby Myers, you add it up, right? And we talked about the Walmart sort of free agent signings, but you add up that receiving core, and there's not really a weak link, and they all kind of complement each other well. Myers, Aguilar, Bourne, they're all, and obviously Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, there's not a weakness there. There's not a superstar.
By the way, people are giving me a lot of hard time for Matthew Judon because he's got really good sack numbers. His PFF grade is 43rd among 109 edge defenders at 69. His pass rush grade is 24th of 105.
I actually think Matthew Judon's one of the smarter players in the NFL for going from a defense where the play caller made him look really good to another defense where the play caller made him look really good.
Yeah.
And to his credit, I think that this is maybe undersold in the analysis you just said, which is in both the Ravens and the Patriots defense, there's an extra markup for the versatility to be able to cover and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's not purely a pass rusher.
I'd also say this. His intelligence allows them to do a lot of things that put him in a position where he just has opportunities to make plays. I'm not trying to take a victory lap there by any stretch of the imagination. I like 3.5. I think we bring.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, that is our show. We love you all. We will see you on Wednesday evening. Enjoy the game tonight. Peace. Love you.